Anwe.
Yeah, thank you for hosting me once more.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
This government is now 1 year in
Mm-hmm.
office. What's your take? Do you think the government is doing all right? What's your impression in the last 1 year?
Yeah, well, surprisingly, nothing has improved. And
Nothing.
yeah, surprisingly, though I must say that there are a few flashes indicating that things may change. But if we do some sectoral analysis, it may help us to really understand what is going on. I believe that the Tinubu presidency was formulated on three key agenda: revitalization of the economy, then of course dealing with insecurity in the country, and then giving corruption a good run for its money. These, for me, were the three principal issues that Nigerians expected President Tinubu to have dealt with decisively. Well, I must say that one didn't actually have any illusions that these problems would go away in one year. But you see, policies will give an indicator or an indication of where a government or an administration is headed. There are many wrong-headed policies that are at the moment witnessing a kind of what you may call policy somersault. I'll mention two particularly because they are the two key policies that provided what you may call headwinds, negative energy, that depressed the economy and forced the economy to what we may call stagflation. Stagflation is an inflation that is going side by side, with what you may call a stagnated economy, rise in prices of goods and services, especially staple foods, and of course, growing unemployment. That is the simple definition of stagflation. And that's where the country has landed itself. How? Why? Is predictably the unplanned sudden removal of fuel subsidy, which of course jolted everything in the country because all facets of Nigerian economy are somehow tied to fuel because you don't have developed public transport sector.
Yeah.
For example, you don't have a way that is developed that can substitute for the basic public urban transportation that must rely on diesel and fuel and all that. You don't have. And you can say that every other thing else will have to derive from the fuel pump price because people will have to transport themselves. It does not mean whether or not you have a vehicle, you must move around. Moving around means transportation, and that transportation, if you don't have it for yourself, you have to rely on the commercial outlets. So when the fuel subsidy was removed, suddenly, without any plan, without any cushioning arrangements made, the first move by the NNPC Limited moved the needle from 197 naira to 540. And within 2 to 3 weeks, he moved again from the 540 to 617. Since then and now, he keeps moving up. He has never come down, hovering between that 617 and even 1,000 naira in some places. Fuel pump price in the filling station. not black market. If you go to the southeast, you will witness what I am saying also. In some filling stations in Abuja, they sell different prices and nobody questions it. What the people are more concerned with now is even getting the fuel. Despite this phenomenal astronomical increase in fuel pump price, we still can't find fuel in many filling stations. It's a serious contradiction. The government of Tinubu didn't stop there. They also floated the naira. Floating the naira here simply means allowing the naira to find its level against all the world currencies. Euro, pound, dollar, yuan, yen, all of them. The yuan of China, for example, is backed up by $1 trillion reserves. Nigerian external reserve is less than $35 billion.
It's dwindling.
And it's even going further down. And you said you want naira that is backed up by no reserves, no export to find its level against the yuan, against the dollar, against the pound, against the euro. That is unimaginable. But that is the kind of policy that you find with this administration. So when you look at the economic books, classic and contemporary, you cannot find any justification for this. But the only explanation I find why Tinubu contemplated going or taking this route is simply because of the pressure from the Bretton Woods institutions, IMF, and the World Bank. Don't forget.
So you're saying that those decisions were taken to please the IMF and displease Nigerians.
There is no other logic behind this except that. Because,
but some would argue, if you take that line of thought, some would they say that this administration actually did not take away this fuel subsidy because the previous administration, that is the Buhari's administration, had that till end of June, actually.
Well, you see, having it till end of June, or continuing it even after June is not the issue. The fact is that Tinubu came in May and removed it in May, even if there was at least a hypothetical arrangement for the subsidy to last till June. The Buhari administration planned for subsidy till end of June.
Yes.
The Tinubu presidency took off May 29th and had at least one clear month to do something, think through the policy, particularly its implementation. Many Nigerians, perhaps majority of Nigerians, believe that the fuel subsidy needed to go. So the disagreement is not whether or not removal of fuel subsidy is welcome. The issue here now is the method. Could it have been done in any other way? That's the question that must be sincerely answered. And my opinion is that it could have been better done than just stand out there at the inauguration ground at the Eagle Square and say fuel subsidy is gone. For me, that was careless. And after that announcement, NNPC Limited, playing along with the policy direction of the new president, moved the fuel pump price from 197 to 540, and within the next 2 weeks or so, moved it again to 617. Between then and now, there has been pressure for NNPC and the presidency to further review the fuel pump price. Yes, they would have, were it not for the damaging effect it had created on the economy already. So what the presidency did was to go back to bringing back the fuel subsidy through the back door. There is evidence that the fuel is being subsidized again.
So meaning
You
the same thing that was removed and is gone is
is
back again.
is back again. I say so because if you look at the prevailing price of crude at the international market vis-a-vis the price of the exchange of the dollar
Naira.
to the naira in Nigeria, you will discover that the 617, that is official pump price for fuel in Nigeria, can no longer, be tenable. What that means is that somehow government is doing something to keep the price, under 700 naira officially. That said, the naira flotation is also witnessing similar somersaults. There is evidence that the Central Bank of Nigeria has been trying to defend the naira. Initially, when they left the naira, within a couple of weeks, naira went over the roof. It was hovering around 2,000 naira to a dollar. And it became clear to the government that something needed to be done. And they came to terms with the fact that the naira cannot be allowed to float on its own without any form of defense or cushioning from the official quarters. And that's why, as a matter of fact, what most countries of the world do. I don't know of any country that leaves its currencies entirely to the vagaries of the market forces.
So in essence, the two most critical things that the government, the two key policies, decisions.
Yes, they have been reversed, as far as I am concerned, because government is defending the naira. Government has brought back fuel subsidy. That is policy somersault. And it goes back to what we said aberration, that these two policies cannot be combined. And even if you run with one, like fuel subsidy removal, there were things that ought to be put in place before subsidy can be removed. I remember we prescribed then that the Tinubu presidency needed between 6 months and 1 year to put a few things on ground. One of them being, at least 2 refineries working in Nigeria, one in the north, one in the south. But no refinery is working in Nigeria as none except that of the Dangote. Dangote refinery is a private investment. And what is worse is even that Nigeria as a country cannot supply Dangote refinery crude, because much of our crude was actually mortgaged by the Buhari presidency to take loans and commit the country to some long-term business deals with some multinationals. And what is the result? The total crude export of Nigeria, only a portion of that is coming to the country as income from export. The rest is going to the mortgage entered into by the Buhari administration. It is that these are some of the problems. So remember I told you that the main reason why Tinubu may have removed the fuel subsidy initially and damned the consequences was the pressure from the Bretton Woods, the IMF, and the World Bank. Don't forget, as at May 29th, 2023, when the Tinubu presidency took off, there was, his election was still at the presidential election petition court. What that means is that his mandate was still being challenged and was yet to be validated. So he was eager to gain acceptance where it mattered. IMF was one, because IMF is a major creditor to Nigeria. He needed the support of IMF. And IMF was very clear about what must be done if they will continue to support Nigeria, particularly the incoming Tinubu presidency. That's very clear. They don't want subsidy. It's not a current thing. They have often pressured Nigerian leaders, right from the military days, to remove all sorts of subsidy, not just fuel, even in electricity, everywhere. They don't want subsidy. Even though in their own country or countries, the major stakeholders that own the IMF, the US and others, still subsidize this or that. But they don't want Nigeria with a weak economy that is grossly underdeveloped to subsidize anything. So they know exactly why they are prescribing the kind of policy even themselves cannot take. It's a pill they can't take. Why do they want this so? They want to lead Nigeria into what you may call debt triangle. Once you enter that debt trap, which I am afraid we have already entered, you will not be able to come out of it. Because it will require, why you can't easily come out of it is because it will require heavy export base, which you don't have. I took a look at the submissions of the Bureau of Statistics, and I found that Nigerian export is still up to 75% crude. That is serious. The balance of 25%, it could be anything, but mostly agro-based. But agriculture in Nigeria is also suffering very serious disruption because of insecurity. So if you look at all this as a gamut, you will see that the Tinubu presidency took off on a very wrong note. And it is yet to correct the after effect of those two key policies. So for me, I think, yes, trying to defend the Naira is necessary. Trying to return subsidy is necessary. But the bigger question, the main elephant in the room, is how do you return the economy to what it used to be before the dislocation?
Yeah, but that may no longer be tenable.
That's the problem here. But at least, how do we deal with inflation? Because it was these two policies that induced the run on the Naira. One is that I've already mentioned the fact that is verifiable, that if you look at it, the inflation was only necessary since everything revolved around the fuel. Everybody had one thing or the other to do with the fuel. So the moment they jacked the fuel pump price, by more than 300%, the after effect is that every good and service in Nigeria went up by the same percentage. In some cases, it went beyond the 300%. Food inflation is up to 40% now. It has never happened in Nigeria. So what do you do to return the country back to something that is close to what I agree that is a tall order, hoping that we can go back to where we are coming from. But at least we should appear to be heading in that direction. For example, the price of the exchange of the Naira to dollar shouldn't be more than 1,000 Naira. Whatever government can do to force the dollar under 1,000 Naira is inevitable now.
1,000 is still crazy.
That's the problem here. So, and because your economy is import dependent and exporting very little or less, you will not be able to reverse some of these things even in a decade. So, the more you look, is the more hazy the economic climate becomes. And I am a hard-headed realist, right? Yes, it's good to be optimistic, but it's far more important to be realistic. We need to understand that we need to revive our production sector. How do you do that? There are enablers that we need that are not simply not just changing. The enablers, for example, electricity. Nigeria is still not distributing 5,000 megawatts of electricity, whereas the country needs something in the neighborhood of 50,000. So you can see the staggering difference. Nigerian economy can rev with anything less than 20 to 30,000 megawatts of electricity. When will you get that? I'm not seeing any master plan, any Marshall plan to get that done. Yes, the legal framework is one, and the government has taken a step in that direction by devolving the power from the exclusive list to concurrent list. It's a very good initiative. But then you need a Marshall Plan that will now see the federal government and states working together on how to unbundle the so-called national grid. So that states that have the capacity can generate their own electricity and distribute. There is a law allowing that now. During the Buhari days, it wasn't so. But now the states can generate their own electricity and distribute. This is key. But there is nobody making any move in that direction.
Yeah,
That
well,
is
in that direction, I think the Imo State governor, um, within the week, if I'm not mistaken, signed a contract with an Egyptian firm to generate and power Imo State. I mean, that is a work of
that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
yes.
I'm happy to hear that, and many more states ought to take the same step. So that by the time you do that, the states that feel so incapable can remain in the national grid. But those who can should exit the national grid and make the burden of the federal government lighter as far as electricity is concerned.
Mm.
Even those who can generate more than they need can sell to neighboring states. That is business. It's a huge business. So that is one thing I had expected that the Tinubu administration ought to have taken a critical look at and activated. Another is doing something about insecurity.
Mm.
Yes, there is a move to create state police, right? Now, you don't just create state police. Those who have expressed their reservations about the workability of state police, given the kind of political leaders we have, especially at the state level, they have a reason. You need a technical committee that should by now working on how to deal with that fear, because the fear is germane. That fear that is expressed by those who say, though the state police is needed, is an idea whose time has come, but how about this kind of governors we have?
Mm.
Nobody is working on that. I had expected that, within the first 1 year of the Tinubu presidency, he should be able to put in place technical committees that will be working on these issues. So he will use the second year to implement. But that is not happening yet. You get my problem. So these are some of the things. So if you look at it, I think the presidency of Tinubu is still very tentative. It's still not sure-footed. It's not really because all the major moves it has made, in majority of those moves are false. They are false, wrong-headed policies. That is why he finds himself having to reverse so many of his policies when he has actually progressed so far away in error. He finds himself coming back to the reality. So you now wonder, the economic team, is that really the best Tinubu can assemble?
But
I doubt it.
isn't that a good, isn't that a good omen that he is able to walk back his mistakes?
Well, for me, you on the surface, it looks good that he's a listening president. He wants the best for the country, but at that level, you don't learn on the job. And then one of the reasons Nigerians have voted for Tinubu is because of his experience as Lagos State governor, and Nigerians have the impression that he did well there, and he could extrapolate what he did in Lagos to escalate it to this federal level. But are we really seeing that? So when you are not sure of certain policies, you think it through, and you as a president, you mustn't be an expert, right, in everything. But there are experts out of 200 million Nigerians. You can find 100,000 expert Nigerians from all parts of the country that will come to the party and help you with all aspects of governance. Obasanjo did that. Good luck did that. And that is what a president should do. I don't trust the Tinubu economic team. They are not working well. If they had actually thought some of these things through, there wouldn't be any need for reversals. There wouldn't be. You cannot reinvent the wheel. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Oh no, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. What you need to do is to make the wheel better, make it more beautiful. But is that what the Tinubu presidency is doing? I doubt. I very much doubt so. I think what they are doing is more of trial and error.
Okay. So
Yes.
in the last 1 year, would it be fair to say that you have no credit to give them so far?
No, he has done a few things.
Okay.
Right?
Can you outline?
He has done a few things. There are some bold moves he has made that have provided some flashes of hope. Right? For example, I think he takes bold decisions, and some of these decisions, no matter how they may appear to be wrong, but at least that courage to bear where the angels would not is something, right?
Like what
For me, there are, if you come to the economy, take for instance, looking at certain departments of the CBN and believing that they should operate better from Lagos and moving them there. For me, it's something many people wouldn't want to contemplate. Then you will come to the area of security, allowing the EFCC to work, freely to a reasonable extent. For me, is something, because there are some arrests the EFCC has made that ordinarily wouldn't be contemplated. And if you look around, you can see. And for you to really fight corruption, you need to give the EFCC, ICPC, the Code of Conduct Bureau, all the freedom they require to do their work and do it without any fear or favor. Because what the politicization of the fight against corruption is partly why the fight against corruption in Nigeria is not working. So if you look around, you can still find more areas where I think he has demonstrated, courage, right? And it is something. We want to see more of that, but we don't want him dabbling into policies and reversing himself. He needs very sound team that will be able to think through all policies before implementation. I think that is where he's getting it wrong.